term limits came down to a bit of a battle between the president of the Common Council and, well, there was. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but I wasn't battling. The room was battling.
The room was
overseeing
battling,
a battle.
but let me finish. I'm talking about Mr. Garramone.
Okay.
The two of you were at odds, and it came down to an issue where
we were at odds, but I wasn't disagreeing with him. That was the catch.
That is true.
We were at odds, but I wasn't
didn't
disagreeing with him.
You didn't engage. However, what you wanted to do is to say, let's just do this. Then I'll go back and I will find the legal basis for what we should or shouldn't do in the process. Mm-hmm. And that's what you've done, and that's what you're here to report on today.
Sure. All right, so real quick, Judge Garramone, his explanation was part of the explanation.
And let's explain
That's why people were still questioning it.
Let's explain the issue. The issue is
4-3 vote. 2 people were missing. Okay, we have a 9-person council. 9 voting members.
He's saying you needed at least 5 people.
Yeah, and
5 votes.
What he was saying was ultimately correct. That's the answer. 4-3, not enough to pass a motion. Okay, that's the answer.
Not enough for a motion.
Not enough for a motion.
Okay.
You need 5 people regardless.
Okay.
That night, there was disagreement. There was 4-3 disagreement, almost a split council. People were validly questioning it. The actual explanation the night of the council meeting was that the case law and second-class cities law, the law defined in second-class cities law and municipal home rule law defined that local laws and ordinances need 5, well, in our case, the majority of the elected membership, which is 5 people, in the affirmative to pass a local law or
you
ordinance.
wouldn't get a vote at one point?
No.
The
only
a
time I would
tiebreak
ever
vote.
vote is if there was a tie. So if there was some vacancy and someone was literally missing in action.
And in this case, but your question was, that's fine for a law. But for a motion, you felt that 4-3 would be sufficient.
Well, I thought it was valid to question.
Yeah.
Which is why I was saying, look, we either go ahead with the motion or do a motion to postpone, which is what we did.
Yeah.
And then go and look for that definitive answer. That's what we did when I was on the other day. I said I was going to call NICOM. Also, we conferred with Judge Garramone and all. And what the judge did the next morning, he sent the council General Construction Law, Section 41, which is the exact same thing that after multiple calls with NICOM, we reduced down to General Construction Law, which defines the majority. There was still some question on that because the majority, it was all about how to get quorum. Not necessarily who's voting.
Yeah.
When I called NICOM, this was interesting because I said, hey, makes perfect sense. No body without the majority of that body in the affirmative should legislate resolution, ordinance, or local law because you wouldn't want less than the majority taking over our legislative branch, right? So it makes perfect sense. But for a motion, and NICOM, we went back and forth. We a couple times we had multiple calls because we had to go and search for that answer. Here's the catch. They said to us, and this is why people were validly questioning it, yes, for a simple motion, you need 5 affirmative votes because that's the majority of your council, unless it's defined differently in your charter. And our rules do say in one place, if it's not explicitly defined in our rules of order on how to do something, you fall back to Robert's rules.
Oh, okay.
That was the basis for the whole, I'll call it debate last Wednesday, because in Robert's rules, it just says majority.
So in the end...
So we were searching, what is New York State in this context with the way our charter currently sits, defined as majority? That's 5 people no matter what.
No matter
Even
what.
if it's a simple motion.
So in the end, was the motion to adjourn okay?
Well, and that's why NICOM entertained searching this for me because I said, okay, what if we only had 7 people? If only 4 people want to adjourn, you could never adjourn. And their answer was, in that case, people would just have to walk away.
Wow.
Which is interesting.
Why did you even have the meeting? Well, when you think about
that's
it, right?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Well, here's what it does. It's interesting.
You can still have the meeting because you could win 5-2, 6-1.
So we could have fun talking about the what ifs. The reality is the 4-3 is not going to carry. But yes, it is interesting because what this does, and in researching this for like a day and a half, it's cool. In the 1800s, the Senate, federal level Senate, had less than a majority in attendance because none of the Republicans showed up, right? But then they voted, and you use the majority of the people who showed up to actually sanction and issue arrest warrants for all those people that didn't show up. There's different legislative bodies. So NICOM basically said if a municipality, and there are some municipalities that have done this, adopt an ordinance stating that if people choose to not show up, you still can't pass a local law. You still can't do an ordinance. You still can't do a resolution.
But you could put in your charter where a motion would be would be allowed.
Can carry so that you can conduct business, but you still can't legislate. But in our city right now, the way the charter sits, 4-3 is not enough.
And by the way, if you try to change the city charter, you'll only get a 4-3 vote anyway. So
yes, that's true.
They just won't show up.
Well, I think
and by the way, this
allows people not to show up.
To not show is a strategy.
To not show is a strategy.
Yeah.
And basically now, granted, no way, no how would anyone in the room, even the people that were arguing to try and pass the motion, would ever want to see a local law pass with less than 5 votes in the affirmative. This was only over conducting the meeting, the motions.
Nor would we ever want to see a public referendum which was voted on reversed by
only 4 votes.
By only 4 votes.
Here's the other thing: if
or
that
even
motion
5.
carried, let's say the motion carried, the vote on the actual motion would definitely lend credence that it would have been a 4-3 vote on the local law anyhow.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have passed. It just wouldn't have passed.
Right, and that was the point I made Friday morning. Even if this goes through,
if the
votes aren't there.
If the other two show, they're not going to vote.
Yeah.
They're not going to vote.
So hold on a second. So what does this mean for term limits? It kicks to next year. We don't know yet. It's not on the ballot this year, period, end of story.
The only way that's going to be answered is when the city clerk certifies the petitions and we find out there are enough valid signatures for it to
and that would
but
kick
that
it
would
to next
kick
year.
It to next year because
so it is done
next
this
year.
year.
But now there's also rumor because I'm already trying. They're like, oh well, next year's a gubernatorial race. There's more votes, blah blah blah. So they might try and kick it off of next year's ballot too.
Okay. Well,
okay.
As it stands right now, this is
look,
dead. Can I say one more thing? Hang on one second. You handle yourself like a gentleman, respectfully. I just want to point out to those in the gallery. I'm not talking about other council members, although I think I could say a couple things. People in the gallery
couple
shouting
things about council members?
Yeah.
Okay.
Judge Garramone is corrupt. He's crooked.
Yeah, it's not
He's
right.
working with the mayor, shouting and screaming like children. I understand it's a passionate issue, and most people are on your side. But have a little respect for other people because you look foolish, and I think your argument loses water when you behave the way certain people
and that's the other
behaved
thing
at that meeting.
I want to say about Judge Garramone, no matter what is going on, no matter what off the cuff he may say about an issue, when he is citing case law and he is acting as legal counsel to the council or he is acting as judge, he always is completely impartial with the law he's citing when he's citing it, his actual explanation. The key the other night, though, I truly thought there was credence to questioning it, and I don't want to squash anyone questioning the process. That's what I didn't like about last Wednesday was the explanation wasn't definitive law. There was law cited, but because of all the arguments, because people would not just settle
got
down,
heated. Right,
and we couldn't calmly talk about it, the explanation ended up being because it's always been this way. And I get why that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here today, and I'm glad we went through it and have an actual answer that no one can argue with. Because if you have an answer no one can argue with,
then you can't argue.
People can't argue. Yeah. It's done.
Yeah. Although
they'll find a way.
Although they'll still say you're corrupt.
Term limits
but
is
they'll always do that.
Kicked to 2019 at the earliest. This is a dead issue, I think, at this point, unless there's another card up somebody's sleeve. And this is a win for Mayor Rob
The only
Palmieri.
way this could ever move forward at this point, you'd have to have all 9 people. You'd have to have a motion to reconsider, and all 9 people
on the board
would have to actually vote in the affirmative. So I don't see it happening.
Well, right now, Lou Critelli I give him a great deal of credit.
I like Lou. You know something Lou said at the meeting that I never said on the air, and I should have? He, in public comment, he said to Rob Palmieri, if you can beat me in racquetball, you can have your 12 years.
I loved that. There was all kinds of there was all these feats of strength challenge.
I would
left and right.
Right
money
now
to see that.
Right now they're working on a new write-in campaign for, I don't know, could you write in?
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
That's always been a dream of mine, get elected to a position purely on write-in.
Just on write-ins.
Awesome.
Listen, the way this world is going, we just had a Supreme Court nominee talk about his virginity last night. My guess is, at this point, anything can happen.
Anything.
Holy moly in the morning. Thank you for the update.
In the world of comedy.
And thank you for doing the research and being a voice of reason on that Common Council. You should be very proud of yourself.
It is needed.
Thank you.